Hey, it's Rob. This is camp.
Age 54.
So it's been, if you see by the for me, it's been a rough week. It's been a rough month within the last 2 weeks. So you 2 weeks ago,
3 weeks ago, a friend of mine's son took his life.
okay. At the beginning of the week or the mid last week, a friend of mine took her life. And then 2 days ago,
A friend of ours, her son and his son took his life.
yeah. So it's been, rather heart wrenching. We're talking 20 years old, 40 years old, and
28, 26, 28.
it's something that is, it's been in the front since it was before COVID. It was happening. I think COVID ramped it pretty hard, and you have to have it's. We talk about these family discussions, keep things in your camp, come back to camp, being able to have home base. Um, it's rough because as you venture out, um, you get connected from family. You get other people that, especially the female, there's a narcissistic relationship. People start reaching out. We do as much as possible to stay connected, but I think as much connection that exists nowadays, especially with social media and everything, it really isn't as solid as real connection and person to person. And even then, you don't know what's going on, and somebody tells you they're okay. You think they're okay, and we can't overstep that boundary, but it's tough.
When everybody said that they were okay. And that's the hard thing is it takes courage if you're struggling
Yeah.
to say that you're struggling. It takes true courage to do that. And it takes real courage to write it out and to get that help. And I know all these individuals didn't want to hurt anybody. They were just hurting.
No. They were hurting, couldn't come to so we us so far because she was the most. We were detached from where we were. We were away from our kids over the weekend. We came back. We will have a discussion with, you got to have a discussion with a 7-year-old and a 10-year-old about death and about suicide, and you have to really have these discussions. Growing up, I had, when I was young, and I think I remember from the age of about 7 and on, I had a large family, extended family, uncles and cousins. My grandfather was a kid of 13 children in a family, and they had a lot of family, and we went to a lot of funerals. So I dealt with death and knowing the end of life early on. This is a different kind of, obviously, death and end of life. But it was kids. It was older. It wasn't. It was somewhere where, like, okay, they were at the time to move on. Others, it was tough because it was children, and mortality wasn't as good in the 70s as it is now. So, but now is tougher. They want, and there's a lot of judgment online, and there's a lot of everything is fine online. So if you get into a depressed state and you start looking, either depression either supports your depression by looking online, or it enhances your depression. Doing great, they don't have any issues, or these people are having issues and they're not getting out of their issues. So
a support system is critical and crucial to healthy habits, especially with your mental health. I work in a field with mental health and providing resources and services to communities and individuals in those communities, specifically around mental health, suicide, and drugs and drug overdose. And one of the things, there's a training called Resiliency 5 Skills from One Tree Learning Institute. One of the things we talk about is trust, and trust is important. Being able to trust people is important. However, we're talking about the trust in your social circle, in the ability to be able to reach out to people. We always tell our daughter, if you can't tell us, there are people you hopefully you'll feel comfortable with. You have to find those people that you can really be vulnerable with. If it's not going to be me,
right,
it's not going to be you. It's somebody that you can be vulnerable with, that you don't feel judged. I will never judge my children, and I don't judge my children. I mean, we don't, but it just seems like as parents that we're the last people they want to disappoint, and they wouldn't disappoint us.
And part of it is you have to extend the understanding of don't worry about disappointing us to your kids. It's a tough thing to get them to understand or to believe, because they're going to believe what they want to believe, and they won't believe that there's nothing that they can do that will make you disown them, or be, ashamed. A kid does not want you to be ashamed of them. So yeah, that's just one level. And then, as they get older, that's even kids. So there's always that. We're in a society right now that you have to communicate, and I'm not saying I have the answer, and I'm not saying that anybody did anything wrong.
No.
I don't want to come off that way at all. It's we try to make sense of certain things, and sometimes you can't make sense of things, and you can't move on. If you're a parent that's had this happen, you can't move on. There's coping, but there's not. You never accept or are going to be okay.
Or whole again.
Yeah, it's just no parent should outlive their child, and that's been stated many, many, many times. So
I don't mean to be depressed.
No,
sorry.
it's tough for this one. We're going to have to move past this. One of the things we're going to be talking about in the future is about social media, and talking about it with our kids, and addressing that, and having that camp base to come back to. That's not social media. For me, when I grew up, there was movies and there was TV, and it was very clear. And there was comic books, and there was, it was very clear when something was real and something wasn't real. When I watched Walter Cronkite on television, that was real. That was news that was real. We don't have that today. My children cannot watch the news and know with 100% certainty that it's true, because a lot of the news programs present themselves as entertainment, or they are entertainment, and they present themselves as news. I should say it that way. And there's a lot of skewing, left, right. I'm not even going to get into what the topic is. The news is not the news as it was when I grew up. So the line between what's real and what's not real is very blurred. So it was contemplating whether they here on Earth or not. It's not as clear as it used to be. So you can't judge any of this based upon the past. That's gone. We're not going to get back there. You cannot isolate your child to a point where they're never going to have that. That's not going to happen, because at some point they're going to step out of that, and they'll be affected by that. There's a book called Educated, and I can't look it up because it's on my phone, but it's a woman who grew up in a certain culture, and she was completely isolated, like convinced that basically the medicines that were given to people were evil and made by evil people. And she was convinced of that, and she got out of that. And as she got educated, she got to the point where she learned, wow, they weren't doing very good, but I understand why they did it for them. She stepped away from that. And at even this point in her life, even though she's done that, she's gone great. She's a doctorate now. She understands that, and she has to hide and have some shame based upon that. So it's tough to know what's real, what's not real. You have to have, among family or within your camp or within your tribe, I don't care how you do it, a home base.
You have to be engaged and involved, and even then, it doesn't help. I mean, all the people that I knew that had this happen were very engaged with their children, up until it ended up happening. And that's the hardest part, is you have to constantly remind them that they're loved, you're here, and differently in that situation.
No, yeah, no. There's nothing I'd be like, oh, well, you should have. No, there's none of that at all. It's like almost everything I would have done was done, and it's like yeah.
But you make up a good point, because the past is the past. The future is what is still being shaped. It's still something that you can involve in. When you stop.
Well, when you stop seeing the future, I think that's when you decide you're done.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't know. I'm guessing. But I think that's when you finally go, okay, I'm done and I'm going to end this because I don't see any future. Because if you saw, or I see a future that's only worse, and
If
that's not. Sorry.
No, that's okay. If you're struggling, or if you have a family member that's struggling, in Arizona, there's a crisis line you can call, and it's 844-534-HOPE or 4673. And you can get access to mental health and substance use services immediately. Or if you're in the nation, 988, you can call and get access to those. There's also in Arizona for kids, there's a kids line, a teen lifeline that people can call
We'll
too.
put these links down below too.
Yes, absolutely. It's 800-248-8336 or 800-248-TEEN. There are resources. If you're not comfortable reaching out to your parents, you're not comfortable reaching out to your spouse, you're not comfortable, you feel you're going to be judged, which I would never judge anybody for that. And that life gets kind of hard sometimes. It's a normal, it's not abnormal, obviously, to contemplate or think about suicide. That's not abnormal. Um, it's just a sign that you need to get stronger supports,
Yeah.
or look at
Yeah.
that as a sign of, you know what, because it can become chronic and you can start to think about it. And then it could be something where you take on and you do end your life. Look at it as something that, like, not, I don't want to call it a warning, but like, just like a flag, like, oh, this is something that's coming in my head a little bit more. Maybe I should reach out to somebody because I want to address these thoughts. If you don't address these thoughts, then they can co- continue to be something.
Yeah.
And we
Yes.
just be able to get connected to
Yeah.
services, whether it's you, your daughter, your son, your brother, your uncle, your somebody at work, whoever it might be. Know that there are resources out there that can help them. There's also QPR trainings out there: question, persuade, and refer. There's mental health first aid. There's a lot of things that we could do, and I just think we're so behind when it comes to mental health as a nation and as a state. There's still so much stigma behind it, which is frustrating.
I don't think it's a state thing, or I think it's just a societal thing. Overall, we need to understand how to better connect with each other and do it at a real level.
Well, and when I say about that, there's policies and procedures and stuff in place from legislation and stuff that aren't really they're not, we're not there yet. We don't understand mental health enough
Right.
to create things that work for communities.
Yeah.
It's just kind of, like, it's just a shot in the dark right now because we don't understand mental health at the level that we should, is my point there. And it's because of the stigma, we're not advancing into it enough.
Right.
Everybody in the world has a mental health issue, whether it's been diagnosed or not. Everybody. There's millions of
We
them.
all have physical issues, and that's
Yeah.
the funniest thing. I've always said, there's physical issues are easy to see. I cut a finger, I break a finger, I break a wrist, I break a leg. You see these things, and you know the severity of them. You can't see any of the mental stuff. There is mental things, like somebody insults you. That's like a finger, like a paper cut. That's an insult. Okay. So many of those could kill you, literally, as much as death of 1,000 cuts could do the same thing. Is that likely? No, but you have to address those. Imagine what would happen if you had a paper cut and you simply didn't do anything with it. If it festered, it got infected, and all of a sudden you get staph, it could kill you if you don't address it. It's the same thing with mental health. If you think it isn't that way, you're deluded, because it does. It's the same thing. Your body is your body. It has an inside mental process. It has an outside or even inside physical process as well. They both have to be addressed.
Yeah,
And physical issues cause mental issues, and mental issues cause physical issues.
absolutely.
Literally the same. Somebody
Correct.
feels down, they start to feel sick, they get sick, and you're like, well, they died. My mother a few years ago had a heart attack because her sister died. Okay. Perfect in health, perfect heart, nothing wrong. Even the doctor said, wow, literally had a heart attack based upon the agony caused, the mental anguish caused by her sister dying. It's for real. So address it. I want to move us forward in a here, but
I know it's hard. It's I want people to have access and understand that it's okay. It's okay not to be okay. I just want people to understand that there's not a person in this world that is okay. It doesn't matter what social status they are, where they're at. It's okay to be not okay because everyone has those moments where
yes,
they're not okay. Everybody in the world has those moments. It's getting that home base, getting that connection to help you through those moments and better understand those moments because that's what's important. And no matter how much you talk to your kids or how much you bring this up, it can still happen. But at least keep trying making it. People don't talk about it. Talk about suicide. Talk about it with your kids. Find ways. Read books. Google it. I don't care. Figure out how to have those hard conversations with the people that you love, so that they know they don't have to feel shame. They don't feel judged. Know that you're creating a safe space for them to just get it out. I mean, when it's all
yeah.
bottled up, like you said, that paper cut, it festers. So just be those people that somebody can be vulnerable with.
There's a lot of discussion about how to stay safe, things to do around your car at night, how to walk up your car at night for women and should do the same thing, having safety, being prepared for a disaster, being prepared for if the water goes bad, being prepared. Well, this is just part of that. This is actually self-care. So it's something you should be doing all the time.
Well, and it's something nobody wants to talk about. I mean,
Yeah.
we've had people come on and off real quick.
Yep.
Because nobody wants to talk about it. If you ignore it, you're going to make it worse. We have to start addressing it. We have to take the shame out of it. We have to take, and let people know that it's okay not to be okay.
So we went to the Valley this weekend, and we had some things to do down there, and set up a will
and trust.
And
yes.
a trust. We're just getting that all started, and all of our powers of attorney and things like that, which is something we talked about with the financial planning and the future planning and thinking ahead and being prepared. And while we were down there, we had a friend of ours that took us to go visit a place called Taros.
Yes. Yes.
And they're really addressing head on some of the issues that lead to homelessness, that lead to people being in jail, people that continually, a certain person that goes to jail, maybe continue to go to jail. And I don't want to delve deep into it.
No, but co-occurring disorders from mental health to substance use,
Yeah.
and really doing a phenomenal job creating an environment where individuals can go for, if they want to.
Yes.
They have to do the work.
Yes.
But there is a path forward. They can easily go from survive to thrive.
Yeah. And they give them the path forward. And then whenever they go through the program and they're ready to step out, they don't do this whole thing of, okay, you're good, see you later. They make sure that they're going to a place that's good. They make sure if they're getting housing, they take them to the place and they go, yeah, this is a good house. You can stay here. They check it out for them. You're good to go. And they check back up on them. They don't just go, see you later. They go into a place which is a wreck, which then costs them more money or costs them anguish or things like that. So it was a good thing.
It was a beautiful thing. And we had a gentleman who talked about what happened to him, and his story, and he has actually he's an electrician.
Yeah.
And he's, a lot of these people are, made good money at one time, some trauma in their life that led them to drugs and alcohol, which caused some mental health issues. And now when they, get on their medication and they're managed and everything, they're doing great. Every night, I take a cortisol manager, and it's something recently, and
it's helped me a lot.
It helps you a lot.
It's probably made the last week a little better, because it's been rough, because
it has.
There's been some emotion definitely over the last week.
But a girlfriend, a good friend of mine, told me about it, and I have some anxiety, and can be a little manic sometimes, and I get a little over the top. I used to call it just some too much muchness. I might have some too much muchness. And I ended up trying it, and I didn't know a difference, but Rob did.
And others as well.
Yeah. How quick did you know a difference?
Within 2 days.
Yeah.
Within 2 days.
Literally. And so I'm diagnosed with hypomanic.
I wouldn't say anything for another week. I waited another week to go is
this
for
it?
real? And then it did. And then I think in about 2 weeks we had a discussion.
Yeah, now it's on as scheduled as a we
And
get
then
it all
and
the
then she missed it. And
time.
then she missed a day.
And I guess he could tell. But it's natural. It has ashwagandha and all the things like that. And I really appreciate my friend for turning me on to that because it has been a life changer. And that's no different than what other people are doing. When you find something that works for you, I know a friend of mine that is taking Wellbutrin, or another friend who has to take a couple medications, or another friend who does CBD, or another friend. I mean, really, you can find out things that work for you, and they make things better. I am a workaholic, and that's where I was putting my manic into. I was working all the time, and I was not spending time with my family or my husband. It was always work, work, work. I come home, but just a lot of work. And now I'm managing things so much better that I'm like, what did I tell you? I was like, it feels like I'm missing something, but I'm getting everything done and it's not taking over my life, which is really weird to me.
Hey, when your wife ignores you, it causes mental illness. You have to go get help. So go get help.
Sorry.
But
but it's
it
true.
helps. You can fix it and you can move forward.
Yeah, and we have a daughter who has a high as well, and so we put her like, this stuff's pretty. You can see a
And
difference.
she goes, "Oh, should I stop thinking?" No, don't talk. Don't stop thinking it. Yeah.
Because when I come into a room, I can take the anxiety level up on people because my anxiety is going, and now that doesn't happen. I have time for my family. I have time for my husband. I am not.
And she can
crazy.
actually calm down when we're at a hotel, or not hotel, at a friend's apartment, and realizes that people can hear us. So,
Oh, geez. Whatever. But it's something that helps me because sometimes I have too much muchness, and it's
well,
helpful.
we like her muchness sometimes. So,
Well, and you have people who go to
because
and
her
they see
muchness is pretty cool.
you have people who go to counselors. Counseling's okay. It helps to get things out. It helps you to have somebody to talk to. Where for some people being that more anonymous, and
Yeah.
being vulnerable with somebody who has a PhD or a background in that, that's better for people. I mean, I will tell everybody my problems, and maybe not everybody wants to listen. But
Okay, so round your camp up. Make sure you have the discussions about things. We're going to be talking here in the next few episodes. We're going to talk about DEI. Actually, we're going to talk about DEI and how you have to dress out with your kids. One way or the other, you're going to have to discuss it. They hear it all the time. And if the TV's on, they're going to ask, well, what is it? And if you don't tell them, they're going to come up with their own definitions. So you got to define them. And then we're also going to talk about social media and some of the different approaches people have with having the kids understand that. Once again, we'll go back to that. What's real, what's not real, and really understanding that. So
yeah. As we raise our children, we'll tell you our great things and our whoops is, and move
okay.
forward from there.
So hey, I'm Rob,
And I'm Alli.
and go venture forward.